The pain in my abdomen started 6 months after the surgery. At first, it was just a dull ache, something I could ignore while working. But by the 4th month, it had become sharp, persistent, the kind of pain that wakes you at 3 in the morning and doesn't let you fall back asleep. "Mr. Thornton," my primary care physician said, frowning at my chart, "there might be a complication from your appendectomy. We should do an MRI." I nodded. The surgery had been routine. Emergency appendicitis. In and out in a few hours. No complications reported. But something was clearly wrong now. The imaging appointment was scheduled for the following week. I spent those days trying not to think about worst-case scenarios. Cancer, internal bleeding, surgical mesh failure. The internet offered too many possibilities, and none of them good. When the MRI results came back, my doctor called me directly, not his nurse. Him. "Grant, I need you to come in today. Can you make it by 3? His tone made my stomach drop. "What did you find?" A pause. "It's better if we discuss this in person." I arrived at his office an hour early. Sat in the waiting room watching daytime television without really seeing it. When they finally called my name, Dr. Patterson was already standing in the exam room with a radiologist I had never met. "Mr. Thornton, this is Dr. Chen from radiology. She reviewed your scans." Dr. Chen pulled up the images on her tablet. "Mr. Thornton, we found something unusual in your abdominal cavity." She turned the screen toward me. There on the left side behind my spleen was a small white rectangle. Metal, foreign. "What is that?" I asked. "Based on the imaging, it appears to be a USB flash drive." I stared at the screen. "That's impossible. I've never swallowed anything like that. I haven't been in any accidents." Dr. Patterson pulled up my surgical records. "You had an appendectomy 6 months ago. Emergency surgery." "Yes. 6 months ago. Late night. Severe pain. Everything had happened so fast." "This object," Dr. Chen said carefully, "appears to have been placed during that surgery from the inside." Silence filled the room. "Intentionally?" I asked. "We can't know for certain. But it's not a surgical instrument or standard medical device, and its position suggests deliberate placement." My mind raced. Who had performed my surgery? Where had it been done? I tried to remember details, but the night was mostly a blur. Pain, ambulance, bright lights, anesthesia. "We need to remove it immediately," Dr. Patterson said. "I'm scheduling you for surgery at Memorial Hospital. Different facility, different surgical team." "When?" 3 days. Friday morning. I left the office in a daze. Drove home on autopilot. Sat in my driveway for 20 minutes trying to process what I had just learned. Someone had put a USB drive inside my body while I was unconscious. My name is Grant Thornton. I'm 39 years old. I run an independent cybersecurity consulting firm in Boston. I help companies protect their data from external threats. I find vulnerabilities. I close security gaps. But I'd never imagined a threat that was literally inside me. That evening, I pulled up the records from my emergency appendectomy. Massachusetts General Hospital. April 7th. The attending surgeon was Dr. Julian Voss, my stepbrother. We had never been close. Our parents married when I was 16 and Julian was 20. He was already in medical school, driven, ambitious. We occupied different worlds, even though we shared holiday dinners and family obligations. But when I had arrived at the emergency room that night, Julian happened to be on duty. He had recognized me, taken charge of my care, assured me everything would be fine. "Family takes care of family," he had said while prepping me for surgery. I had trusted him. Now, sitting in my living room, staring at his name on the surgical report, I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not anger, not yet. Just a quiet realization that nothing about that night had been coincidence. The surgery at Memorial Hospital happened on schedule. Different team, different anesthesiologist. I made sure to tell them about the foreign object, made sure they documented everything. When I woke up in recovery, the surgeon, Dr. Ramirez, was waiting. "We removed it," she said. In her hand was a small sealed plastic bag. Inside was a metal USB drive, standard size, waterproof casing. "What's on it?" I asked. "We have no idea. But Mr. Thornton, this was not a medical error. This was deliberate. The placement, the casing, the way it was sutured to avoid detection. Someone knew exactly what they were doing. I need that drive." Dr. Ramirez hesitated. "This is evidence of a crime. We're required to report it." "Report it," I said. "But I need to know what's on it first, before anyone else does." She studied me for a long moment. Then she handed me the bag. "You didn't get this from me." I was discharged the next day. Drove straight home, locked the door. Set up my most secure workstation. The USB drive was encrypted, military grade by the look of it. 3-layer authentication with what appeared to be custom algorithms. For most people, this would have been impossible to crack. But I had spent 15 years in cybersecurity. I had tools, I had patience, and I had a very specific motivation. It took me 4 hours. When the files finally opened, I sat back in my chair and stared at the screen. 3,847 files. Medical records, surgical logs, financial transactions, photographs, email chains. Everything organized by date going back 3 years. And in every file, in every transaction, in every operation, the same name appeared. Dr. Julian Voss. My stepbrother was running an organ trafficking network. I spent the next 6 hours reviewing the documents. The operation was sophisticated. Julian had been recruiting patients on transplant waiting lists, offering them organs outside the official system, for a price. The donors were listed as willing participants. But as I dug deeper, I found the truth. Most were vulnerable people. Immigrants, addicts, people who had been coerced or outright lied to about what they were agreeing to. The money trail led through shell companies and offshore accounts. Millions of dollars moving through carefully constructed channels. Julian had partnered with other surgeons, hospital administrators, even organ procurement coordinators. But why had he hidden this evidence inside me? I found the answer in an email dated 3 weeks before my surgery. FBI has opened an investigation into irregularities at MGH. They're requesting surgical records and financial documents. Need secure backup location immediately. Cannot risk cloud storage or physical drives that could be seized. Another email 2 days later from an account registered to Julianne. Solution found. Will use personal contact for storage. Low risk, plausible deniability if discovered. Retrieval possible when investigation concludes. Personal contact. He had meant me. Julian had known I was coming to the emergency room that night. Not because of coincidence, but because he had been monitoring me, waiting for an opportunity. My appendicitis had been real, but Julian had seen it as the perfect chance to hide his evidence somewhere the FBI would never think to look. Inside a family member, someone with technical skills who could be useful later if needed. He had turned me into an unwitting storage device. I closed my laptop and walked to the window, looked out at the city lights, tried to process what I had learned. My stepbrother was a criminal. He had violated my body while I was unconscious. He had put me at risk. And he had done it with the casual calculation of someone who saw people as tools. I could go to the FBI immediately, hand over the drive, let them handle it. But that felt too simple, too clean for Julian. He would lawyer up, claim the evidence was planted, drag out the case for years, number. If I was going to do this, I needed to do it right. I needed Julian to destroy himself. The next morning, I called my stepmother, Patricia, Julian's mother. We had maintained a cordial relationship over the years, even though she and my father had divorced 5 years ago. "Grant," she said warmly when she picked up. "It's been too long. How are you?" "Good. Listen, I wanted to ask about Julian. Is he still at MGH?" A pause. "Yes. Why do you ask?" "Just curious. I had a medical procedure done there recently, and I was wondering if our paths might have crossed." "Oh, when was this?" "April, emergency appendectomy." Another pause, longer this time. "Julian didn't mention that." "Probably forgot. It was a busy night." We chatted for a few more minutes. I kept my tone light, asked about her health, her work. Then I hung up and waited. If I knew Patricia, and I did, she would call Julian immediately, ask why he had not mentioned operating on his stepbrother, express concern. And Julian would realize I was asking questions. Sure enough, 2 hours later my phone rang. Julian's number. I let it go to voicemail. "Grant, hey, it's Julian. Mom said you called her asking about me. Just wanted to check in. Haven't heard from you since your surgery. Hope you're recovering well. Give me a call when you get a chance." His voice was casual, friendly, but I could hear the tension underneath. I did not call back. Instead, I reached out to an old colleague, Marcus Chen, former FBI cybercrimes investigator who had gone private. We had worked together on several cases over the years. "I need your help with something sensitive," I told him when we met at a coffee shop in Cambridge. "How sensitive?" "Organ trafficking, medical fraud, multiple federal violations." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Who's the target?" "My stepbrother." I showed him the files. Not all of them. Just enough to demonstrate the scope. Marcus was silent for a long time, reading through the documents on my encrypted tablet. "This is solid," he said finally. "More than solid. This is prosecutorial gold. Where did you get it?" "He hid it inside my body during surgery." Marcus set down his coffee. "He what?" I explained everything. The emergency surgery, the pain, the MRI, the USB drive. "Jesus, Grant, you should have gone to the FBI immediately." "I'm going to them. But I need to make sure this lands right. Julian has connections, money, he'll fight this." "So what's your play?" "I need evidence of current activity. The files are historical, but we need proof he's still operating. Real-time transactions, active cases." Marcus nodded slowly. You want to bait him. I want him to feel safe enough to continue, and sloppy enough to leave tracks. Over the next 3 days, Marcus helped me set up a monitoring system. We created a fake investigation announcement suggesting the FBI's probe into MGH had been closed due to insufficient evidence. Marcus had contacts who could plant the story on internal hospital communications boards where Julian would see it. Meanwhile, I started leaving digital breadcrumbs, accessing medical databases using Julian's stolen credentials, making it look like someone was still using his network for organ trafficking coordination. But doing it sloppily, leaving traces. On day 4, Julian called again. This time I answered. "Grant, finally, I've been trying to reach you." "Sorry, been busy. New contract." "Right. Listen, I wanted to talk about your surgery. There were some complications that weren't in the initial report. I think you should come in for a follow-up." "Complications? Everything feels fine." "It's just precautionary. Better safe than sorry." He wanted to see me. Wanted to assess whether I had found the USB drive, whether I knew. "I actually just had a follow-up at Memorial," I said. "They said everything looked good." Silence on the line. "Memorial? Why did you go there?" "Just wanted a second opinion. You know how it is." Another pause. "Right, of course. And they didn't find anything unusual." There it was. The question he really wanted to ask. "Nothing unusual. Clean bill of health?" I could almost hear him relax. "That's great. Really great. Listen, we should get together soon. Family dinner, maybe?" "Sure. I'll check my schedule." After I hung up, Marcus looked at me from across my office. "He bought it?" "For now. But he's going to start checking, trying to verify what happened to the drive." "Good. Let him dig. Every move he makes leaves a trail." That evening, I received an email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line read, "Urgent, regarding shared storage." I opened it in an isolated virtual environment. The message was brief. "Need to verify status of backup files. Confirm receipt and accessibility. Reply immediately." It had come from a burner account, but the phrasing matched Julian's style from the documents I had read. He was panicking, trying to establish whether the USB drive was secure. I did not respond. 2 days later, Marcus called. "Your brother just tried to access the hospital's surgical database, pulled records for your appendectomy. He's looking for confirmation about what happened to the foreign object." Did he find anything? Only what we wanted him to find. Surgical report from Memorial showing removal of foreign object. No mention of what happened to it after. Julian would be sweating now. The USB drive was gone. But where? Did I have it? Did the hospital? Had it been reported to authorities? I decided it was time to apply more pressure. Using Marcus's contacts, I arranged for a federal agent to visit MGH. Not from the FBI, from Health and Human Services. Routine inspection of organ transplant protocols. But I made sure Julian heard about it through the grapevine. The next day he called me again. This time there was no pretense of casual conversation. "Grant, we need to talk. In person?" "About what?" "Family matters. Private family matters. Can you meet me?" "When?" "Tonight. My place, 8 o'clock. I agreed. But I told Marcus where I was going, made sure someone knew. Julian lived in a renovated brownstone in Back Bay. Expensive, tastefully decorated. The kind of place that suggested success without ostentation. He answered the door in jeans and a dress shirt. Looked tired, stressed. "Come in. Thanks for coming." I followed him to his study. He poured 2 glasses of scotch without asking if I wanted one. "Grant, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me." "Okay. After your surgery at Memorial, did they give you anything? Any personal effects?" I sipped the scotch. Let the silence stretch. "Like what?" "Anything that was removed during the procedure." "You mean like my appendix?" "No, they keep that stuff." Julian's jaw tightened. "I mean, anything else? Anything unusual?" "Julian, what's this about?" He set down his glass. "I made a mistake. During your surgery, I may have accidentally left something inside you. A storage device for a work of files." "Accidentally?" "It was a stressful night. Things got mixed up." I stared at him, watched him squirm. "You put a USB drive inside my body during surgery, and you're calling it an accident?" "It wasn't supposed to stay there. I was going to retrieve it during a follow-up appointment, but then you went to Memorial instead." "Why would you need to hide a USB drive in your stepbrother's abdomen, Julianne?" He said nothing. "Let me guess. The files on it were sensitive, maybe illegal, and you needed somewhere to put them where investigators wouldn't look." His expression shifted, calculation replacing panic. "I don't know what you think you know." "I know everything." I pulled out my phone, showed him a screenshot of the file directory. 3,847 files. The color drained from his face. "Where did you get that?" "From the USB drive you put inside me. The one Memorial removed. The one I've spent the last 2 weeks analyzing." Julian sat down heavily. "Grant, listen. You don't understand the situation. I understand you're running an organ trafficking network. I understand you're exploiting vulnerable people. I understand you used me as a storage device without my knowledge or consent. It's not that simple. The system is broken. People die waiting for organs. I'm helping them. By harvesting organs from people who didn't give informed consent. By falsifying medical records. By taking money from desperate patients. Everyone benefits. The donors get compensated. The recipients get life-saving transplants. And you get rich." He said nothing. I stood up. "Here's what's going to happen. I've made copies of all the files. I've already shared them with a contact who used to work for the FBI. If anything happens to me or if I don't check in regularly, those files go straight to federal prosecutors." "Grant, please." "I'm not finished. You're going to shut down your operation immediately. You're going to stop performing illegal transplants. You're going to sever ties with everyone in your network." I can't just walk away. These people will protect themselves. Just like you're about to. Julian's hands were shaking. "What do you want?" "I want you to turn yourself in." "That's not happening." "Then let me finish. You're going to draft a complete confession. Names, dates, operations, financial records, everything. You're going to sign it and have it notarized. And you're going to give it to me." "Why would I do that?" "Because if you don't, I'll release the files tomorrow. And instead of having any control over how this plays out, you'll be arrested within 48 hours. Your medical license revoked. Your reputation destroyed. Criminal charges filed in multiple jurisdictions. And if I cooperate, then you get to control the narrative. You get to negotiate with prosecutors. maybe work out a deal for cooperation, reduced sentence. But that only happens if you act now before they come for you on their own. Julian stared at the floor. I need time to think. You have until tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Send me the signed confession, or I go to the FBI myself. I left without another word. Drove home with my hands tight on the wheel. Waited to feel something. Triumph, maybe. Satisfaction. But there was only a dull heaviness. This was my stepbrother. Someone I had known for over 20 years. And I was about to destroy his life. But he had chosen this path. Not me. The next morning at 8:57, my phone pinged. An email from Julian. Attached was a 23-page document, a full confession detailing 3 years of illegal organ trafficking operations, names of co-conspirators, financial accounts, everything. At the bottom was his digital signature and a timestamp from a notary service. I forwarded it to Marcus. Get this to your FBI contacts. Tell them it came from a confidential source. What about you? I was never involved. As far as anyone knows, Julian turned himself in voluntarily. That's not quite how it works, Grant. Make it work. 3 days later, federal agents raided Massachusetts General Hospital, arrested Julian and 4 other surgeons, seized computers and financial records. The story made national news. Major organ trafficking network dismantled in Boston. Patricia called me crying. Did you know about this? About Julian? I saw the news. He says someone framed him, that the evidence was planted. I said nothing. Grant, please, if you know something. I don't know anything, Mom. I'm sorry. She hung up without saying goodbye. Over the following weeks, the investigation expanded. Julian's confession led to arrests in 3 other states. More surgeons, hospital administrators, organ procurement coordinators. The network had been larger than even I had realized. Julian's lawyer tried to fight the charges, claimed the confession had been coerced. But the physical evidence backed up every detail. Financial records, medical files, communications logs. The trial lasted 7 weeks. I did not attend. Did not follow the coverage beyond occasional headlines. In the end, Julian was convicted on 18 counts. Racketeering, fraud, medical malpractice, coercion. He was sentenced to 28 years in federal prison. Patricia sent me one final email. I hope you're satisfied. You destroyed your own brother. I deleted it without responding. 6 months after Julian's sentencing, I was closing up my office for the day when Marcus stopped by. Thought you'd want to know. 3 of the victims from Julian's operation testified at congressional hearings today. They're pushing for stronger regulations on organ trafficking. That's good? One of them mentioned your stepbrother specifically. Said his arrest saved her life. She had been approached about selling a kidney, couldn't pay rent. Julian's team was pressuring her. When the network collapsed, she got into therapy instead. She's doing better now. I nodded slowly. You did the right thing, Marcus said. I know it doesn't feel like it, but you did. After he left, I locked up and walked home through the Boston evening. The city was alive with spring, trees blooming, people dining outdoors, life continuing as it always does. I thought about Julian, about the USB drive he had planted inside me, about the calculated way he had violated my trust and my body. I thought about the people he had exploited, the ones who had been saved when his network fell apart. and I thought about justice. How it isn't always clean or satisfying. How sometimes doing the right thing means becoming someone you didn't want to be. My phone buzzed. A text from a blocked number. You won. Hope it was worth it. Julian, from prison. I deleted the message. Kept walking. A year later, I was having dinner with Marcus at a restaurant in Cambridge when a woman approached our table. "Excuse me, are you Grant Thornton?" I looked up. She was in her mid-30s. Nervous. "Yes." "I'm Sarah Vega. I testified against Dr. Voss. I just wanted to say thank you. Someone told me you were the one who brought the evidence forward. You saved my life." I didn't know what to say. "I'm glad you're doing well." "I'm back in school now, nursing program. I want to help people the right way." She smiled. "Anyway, I won't bother you. I just needed to tell you that." After she left, Marcus raised his glass. "See? You're a hero whether you like it or not." "I'm not a hero. I just found a USB drive." "You could have done nothing. Most people would have." "Maybe. But most people hadn't been turned into an unwitting storage device by someone they trusted." I finished my drink, and we talked about other things. Work, life, plans for the future. Walking home that night, I thought about Sarah, about her smile, about the fact that she was alive and studying nursing because Julian's network had been dismantled. That had to count for something. My name is Grant Thornton. I'm 40 years old now. I still run my cybersecurity firm in Boston. I help companies protect their data from threats, both external and internal. I have a scar on my abdomen from the surgery that removed Julian's USB drive. Sometimes I touch it and remember everything that happened. My stepbrother is in federal prison. He'll be there for many more years. We don't communicate. His mother doesn't speak to me. But 15 people who would have been victims of his network are safe. 3 regulatory reforms passed because of his case. One woman is studying to become a nurse. Sometimes justice isn't about satisfaction. It's about protecting people who can't protect themselves. And sometimes the only way to do that is to make the hardest choice possible. I sleep well at night. Better than I did before. Better than Julian probably does. That's enough for me.